The Acolyte episodes 4 and 5 were filmed as a single unit and divided in the middle before the action sequences began. Overall, the episodes were a little better than what had come before. Not a large task when episode 3 is what you're being compared to, but not by much. There were still several things that made no sense and made me think, they've given us 5 episodes of this show, and nothing much has actually happened. This show could almost be condensed into a single episode of television, but the showrunners made good use of Disney Star Wars Cardinal Rule number 4. 10 minutes of content can be turned into a full episode with lots and lots of filler. There's a bit of action and some reveals, but at this point I'm not sure anyone really cares. Let's dive in, shall we? Episode 4 is primarily a setup episode, moving pieces around as setup for the narrative in the next episode. After failing to capture May in episode 2, the Jedi team has returned to Coruscant. Sol discusses the findings with some kind of sub-council somewhere beneath the Jedi High Council, which includes Ki-Adi-Mundi, several decades before he has been born and a century before he declares that the Sith have been extinct for a millennia. There's been a lot made of the canon-breaking nature of this, but at this point in Disney's helming of the franchise, they've broken canon so often, whether it be previously established canon or their own established canon, that it really doesn't matter. To Disney, canon only lasts as long as the most recent thing. That's probably Disney Star Wars Cardinal Rule number 5. Knowing that Wookiee Jedi Kalnaka is May's next target, they decide to go to whatever planet he's on to retrieve him. Sol decides that Osha, who is doing her best to sneak away, would be useful in apprehending her sister and asks her to tag along. As an aside, we get an awkward conversation between Osha and Jeki before Osha leaves, which we have been told is evidence of a burgeoning romance between these two people who have spent like a day with each other, and we've seen say 4 sentences to each other throughout the entirety of the show. Truly a match made in heaven, and not instance number 4967 of Disney trying to shove intersectional representation into a show about space wizards. At the same time, May and Khmer have arrived and begin their own search for the Wookiee. The Jedi meander around the forest following some kind of a beaver tracker whose gender is apparently unidentifiable to Osha. Meanwhile, May follows Khmer, who knows where Kalnaka can be located. As they walk, May suddenly arrives at the conclusion that her sister's survival changes her entire outlook on her situation. She decides, out of nowhere, that she is going to turn herself into the Jedi and beg for mercy. Khmer tries to talk her out of this decision, but May runs away to Kalnaka's dwelling. She enters, calling out to the Jedi, only to find him already dead. Her master has beaten her there. Outside, the Jedi have arrived and call out to her to come out slowly. Suddenly, May's master arrives outside. The Jedi ignite their lightsabers and charge. This mysterious figure flicks his hand, and all the Jedi fly backwards. And credits. Not much happened in this episode, and it was offensively boring, but thankfully it was short. Episode 5 picks up sometime after the previous one concluded. Most of the Jedi have been killed, their bodies strewn across the ground. This follows the same formula we've seen from Disney in the past. Build up to a big battle, cut to black, and come back after the fight has happened. Osha wakes up and sees the final couple of Jedi meeting their ends, showing that the warrior's armor is made of some kind of metal that temporarily shorts out lightsabers. Inside, Jeki successfully captures May, while Sol begins fighting the Dark Lord outside. All the remaining living members of the group, Sol, Osha, May, Jeki, and the Sith, eventually make their way together outside Kalnaka's hut. Sol and Jeki fight against the Sith in a lightsaber battle that, compared to the majority of Disney Star Wars, had plenty of good choreography. Unlike most of what has preceded it, the fighters treat their lightsabers like actual swords and not as baseball bats. I watched the fight thinking, this isn't that bad. Of course, Disney had to Disney it all up with Disney Star Wars Cardinal Rule number 1. After the Sith makes quick work of Sol, Jeki, a mere apprentice, comes in with 2 lightsabers and holds her own far better than the experienced Jedi Master for quite some time. However, the Sith ends up being too strong and manages to kill the apprentice, or at least it appeared that she was killed. The way Disney treats lightsaber wounds, we can never be too sure about what is and isn't lethal. Prior to being killed, Jeki did manage to knock the warrior's helmet off, revealing the Sith Master to be Khmer. What does this mean? How did this happen? Does anyone care? The answers are don't know, and no. Sol and Khmer argue back and forth for a few minutes, with Khmer dropping the Sith name before returning to their fight. Sol gains the advantage and is about to deliver the killing blow before Osha tells him to stop. Then, she runs up with her little handheld droid, which contains a light on it, and attaches it to Khmer's back. This light attracts some kind of large flying bugs that are attracted to light, which carries him away to kill him. I'm not sure what the difference is between Soul verifiably killing him and the bugs carrying him away and ambiguously killing him off somewhere else. And, to no one's shock, he manages to kill the bugs and lives on. May wakes up from being stunned earlier by Osha and stuns Soul. She and Osha speak for a few moments before May stuns her sister. She uses a lightsaber to cut her hair to match Osha's, takes her sister's clothes, fully dressing her sister up in her own clothes at the same time, and takes Osha's place with Soul, who may or may not know who May really is. If he doesn't know, it makes no sense. Osha was his apprentice, and it has been established that Jedi can read minds. If he does know, it also doesn't make any sense because he's choosing to leave Osha on a dangerous planet. After they leave, Kimmer shows up and finds Osha dressed as May. And suddenly, we're in the middle of Disney's The Parent Trap. Episode 5 was much better than anything that came before it, but that's not saying all that much. There's still 3 episodes left, and I honestly have no idea where else the show can go. I guess we can all find out together. Thanks for watching.